Okay, we're looking at 11.4, which is going to be circumference and arc length. Okay? The circumference of a circle is the distance around the circle. The arc length is the portion of the circumference of the circle. The circumference of a circle is c equals pi d, or 2 pi r, where d is diameter and r is the radius. Arc length corollary. In a circle, the ratio of the length of a given arc to the circumference is equal to the ratio of the measure arc to 360. Okay, so what that means is right here. We take the arc length over 2 pi r, so that's the circumference, equals the measure of the arc over 360. Cross multiply. This is just another way to do it, that the arc equals the measure of the arc over 360 times the circumference. I like this way. I like setting it up. You can do it either way. Yeah?
Okay, so it says arc length of AB.
Yeah.
Is that different from measurement of AB?
Yes, because the arc length is the literal distance if I walked along it, right? The measure is this angle right here.
Oh.
Those are different. I don't want the angle of the arc. I want the distance of the arc as if I'm walking on it.
So those are the same things, it's just set up differently?
This one and this one are the same thing. They're just set up differently.
Okay.
All right, let's look at example 1. All right. We're going to find the circumference of a circle with 17 centimeters. So this should be pretty straightforward. If we know that its radius is 17 centimeters, we simply do 2 pi times 17. So you need a calculator. So 2 times 17, you can leave it as 34 pi if you don't have a good calculator, or if you want the exact, we times it by pi, giving us 106.8. 0.8 centimeters, or 34, that's the pi symbol, centimeters. Okay, part B, find the circumference of a circle with a diameter of 14 inches. If the diameter is 14, what would the radius be? 7. So you can do 2 pi 7, or pi times 14. So that gives you 14 pi, or 14 times pi gives me 43.98.
So we reach 244?
Nope.
Can you just draw one?
Draw what I'm doing? Okay. So for A, for example, I'm given that the radius is 17, and I'm trying to find the outside circumference. So I simply use 2 pi r, 17 equals r, so I plug it in. 2 pi times 17.
How does 17 equal r?
Yeah.
Okay.
How does 17 equal r?
That's radius.
This is radius for A.
Okay, and then diameter is
D.
which
So
is all
half.
across. Oh, and you want r.
Take half of it. Yep. Feeling better? Okay, let's do the opposite now. We know what the circumference is. Let's find the radius. Okay, so we know the formula, right, for all of these is 2 pi r equals circumference, right? That's what we're looking at. Now we're looking at 1c. Find the radius of a circle with the circumference of 14. So I'm going to say 14 equals 2 pi r. How would I get r by itself? Divide by 2 pi. Those cancel, and we take out our handy-dandy calculator. Just go 14 divided by 2 pi. I am doing C. We get 2.23. Yes.
We just write 7 pi for
Yeah. So it would be 7 over pi, right? Okay. Diameter, we want to find the diameter of the circle where the circumference is 12. So we could do 12 equals diameter pi, right? If that's confusing and you're like, Miss Murphy, I'm only memorizing one equation, you just change this to 2 pi r, and you simply divide both sides by 2 pi. It'd be 6 over pi, yes.
Can you write the C?
Okay. All right, here's the equation, Nathan. No. It is C equals 2 pi r. This gives me C. So I'm replacing that. And now I'm trying to find r. So I simply divide it by 2 pi. So I get 12 divided by 2 pi, giving me the radius is 1.9. But what do I want to find? I don't want to find the radius. I want to find the what? So what do I do to that? I times it by
2.
2. So the diameter, 3.8.
Okay, how would you set this up?
So, ladies and gentlemen, that's how we handle circumference and diameter. Let's turn to find circumference, to find radius. Let's look at example 2, and you're going to have
We
to
have to draw ours.
draw these in. Yeah. All right. If we had that the radius is 8 centimeters and that the arc is 60 degrees, can we find the length of the arc? Okay. So remember, our equation is arc length over circumference equals the angle of the arc over 360. Okay? So we don't know the arc length, so I'm going to make that x. Since we know the radius, we know that the circumference is what? What's 2 pi r? R is what?
It's
8. So 8 times 2 times pi. Did I lose somebody? Yes.
What is the angle of the what?
It says angle over 360. It's also at the top of your paper.
It's on the front.
No.
In the box at the bottom. Yep, arc length over 2 pi r
Oh, that
equals,
actually.
that's what I'm doing. So we get 50.27 equals 60 over 360, and we're going to cross multiply. 360x equals this times 60, which gives us 3015.93. We divide that by 360, and I get the arc length equals 8.378 centimeters. Should we try another one? You want to wait a minute? Do you get how I'm setting it up? Arc length over circumference equals the angle of the arc over the angle of the circle, which is 360. Yes, Susan? I took the radius, times it by 2 pi, and that's what I got for the circumference. So let's try the next one. The arc length is x. The circumference, how do we figure out the circumference again? 11, which is my radius, times 2 times pi, or 2 times pi times 11, whatever order you want. You get 69.12. Please don't talk while I'm teaching. Please don't talk while I'm teaching. Equals 60 over 360. We're good so far how I set that up? Everybody know where I got 69.12? Yeah, I did 2 pi 11 to find the circumference. Okay. Now I'm going to cross multiply, and I get 4146.9.
I got 4147.
4146.9
I did the exact same thing.
is
as you.
probably just rounded differently. It's fine. And then we divide it by 360. And we should get approximately 11.52 is my arc length in centimeters. Okay, so Chris,
Yeah.
you did
I
2.
mean, I got the same thing as you did. I did 69.12 and I got 4147.2. But I
Yeah,
still got
just wrote it
11.52.
And you're fine. All right, so let's go ahead, and why don't you try the last one on your own? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's look at, we'll go over this last one here. Please don't do that. Okay, so we've got 120 degrees. We've got 11 as our radius. So let's figure out the circumference first. So that's 2 times 11 times 5. So it's 22, yes it is. So it's 22, please don't talk while I'm talking. 22 pi and 22 times pi gives us 69.12. Okay, so that's the circumference. Then we take the arc length, which we don't know, over the circumference, 69.12, equals the angle, which is 120, over 360, and we're going to cross multiply. So we get 360x equals 120 times 69.12, and we get 8,294.4. Divide that by 360. Shh. And we get x equals 23.04 centimeters. Who got a different answer or got confused on what I did? Anybody?
I don't know
How I get the what?
this is taking guys.
Right here? From right here. The circumference. So I know that the radius is right here is 11.
Yeah.
So I plug it into 2 pi r. Yep. Yes. And then I just put it in and cross multiply. Allie?
I got 69.08, and then at the end I got 23.03.
Okay, so you are rounding differently. You're probably multiplying by 3.14 instead of pi. It would be the same answer. I would give it to you. 3.14 versus pi. Okay, if you plug in pi, please don't talk while I'm talking. If you plug in pi to your calculator and put enter, it says 3.141592.654. Okay, versus 3.14.
Is it okay if I use 3.14?
Yes, you're just going to get a slightly different thing, unless I say specifically on a test or quiz to use pi. Okay? Yes, Brianna.
Did you get the 22?
Huh?
Did you get 22?
How did I get 22? I didn't get 22. Are you sure, Brianna? Do you have another question? Okay. Let's move on. Let's look at this one. For example 3, we want to find their circumference and the radius. If we have the arc length and the angle. Shh. Gentlemen, I'm really going to start kicking some people out if you can't stop. Okay, so we know circumference is 2 pi r, but we don't have a radius. So let's talk about looking at this backwards. Thinking again about our formula. We've got the arc length is 4.19, right? We don't know what the circumference is. So we've got 2 pi r. Okay? That equals the angle, which is 40, over 360. So we're just going to cross multiply again. Okay? Is there anything up there before I move on that you're confused where I got it from?